Hello, everybody. This is Chuck again here on Passivepreneurs. We are excited to bring you our friend Zachary Beach, who's the CEO and partner of Smart Real Estate Coach. Zach is an author. Is it okay if I call you Zach?
That's perfect, Chuck. We're friends now.
Yeah. Zach is an author, a coach, a mentor. He's a consultant, but a specialist in creative and seller financing. So we're going to talk about a lot of different things today and how it might relate to us and creating passive income. But I thought first we get to know Zach a little bit. So why don't you tell us about how you created this company or what you did before this company and any passive income you've attempted to create in the past and how it led to what you're doing now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I like to always tell people I was a poor kid that grew up in a rich town. And I tell you that because I always grew up with a chip on my shoulder, and that kind of led me to, going off to college for no other reason other than just because people told me I couldn't. So when I left college, I ended up becoming a bartender and personal trainer because that's I did what every good college student does is they start bartending after they spend tens of thousands of dollars to go get an education. But I ended up getting burnt out pretty quickly. So I was 24 years old and I was working late nights and working early mornings. So I actually approached my father-in-law, Chris, who was in real estate investing for about 23 years. He got crushed in 2008. So he was looking for a new strategy to get back involved in real estate investing, and he stumbled across this creative financing techniques, which really just kind of boils down to like three different strategies that we use for acquisition, and then we'll talk about how we sell on rent to own as well. So I approached him as he was building up this new business, and I said, "Hey, I don't know if I'm going to like real estate or not, but I figure it's going to be a heck of a lot better than this." So I ended up jumping into and joining him, my brother-in-law, and then my wife actually joined at the time as well. And we started building out this family real estate business that was all built around these strategies of creative financing. And it took me about 6 months to get my first deal done. And after that, I kind of burned the ships and just full fledged got involved in real estate investing. And still to this day, still invest in real estate, still utilizing these strategies among others. And then we also were able to build, because people started asking us what we were doing, a real estate coaching company, which now is built into 80 plus markets, and we're all around North America now, helping people grow or do their first transaction or grow and scale their real estate business utilizing these techniques. And that's kind of where everything kind of came together.
Very cool. And I love that it's you turn this family business into this bigger thing. And my guess is with that sign over your left shoulder that you're somewhere in the Boston area.
For sure. Yeah. We have our Wicked Smart community, smartrealestatecoach.com. And we got our Wicked Smart community. So, yeah, I always tell people after an event, like, now you guys are officially Wicked Smart.
Well, I won't mention that I'm a Yankees fan, but we should move on.
That's okay. That's okay.
Um,
We're
so
still
you,
friends.
you brought up creative financing as something that you teach people. So I wonder if you could define what that actually means and maybe how people could use creative financing.
Yeah, so I'll talk about in my world or in the real estate space, even though we both know that creative financing is very prevalent in commercial real estate. It's very prevalent in buying and selling businesses. It could be vending machine routes, car washes, you name it. It's just a strategy or strategies to acquire a business or a piece of real estate. And really, we break it down to really three major things. One is we're not putting down huge down payments. So, especially in comparison to the traditional market. So, in real estate, like the traditional market, if you're buying an investment property, is typically going to require like 20% down. Well, we're getting into deals anywhere from 0 to maybe like 10% down at the very highest. Two is we're not going to personally sign or guarantee on debt. As I mentioned earlier, my business partner got crushed in 2008, hence the reason
Yeah.
why we don't personally sign and guarantee debt. So within our techniques, we actually either utilize other people's debt, known as a subject to deal, or we have the seller be our bank, or we create a mortgage with them. And then the last piece really that defines it is that we don't go to banks. So no large down payments, no personally signing and guaranteeing debt, and no banks. And that's really where, like, at this core of it, creative financing really is. And then when we kind of build that out even further, then it starts to go into a couple different strategies within that as well.
So very cool. So someone who doesn't have a lot of capital to start, I mean, realistically, can they do it with zero down or zero money, or do they need probably some kind of capital to get started?
Yeah, great question. So when I look at these types of strategies, it's more of a skill set than it is a resource. So I personally, right, I was a bartender. When I joined the business, it's not like I had all this capital. We also only got to eat what we killed. We had to actually significantly increase the amount of deals when we joined because everybody needed to be fed in that business. So we were constantly going after deals, but the way in which we're able to acquire them is a skill set. So it starts with being able to communicate with people. And I know I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent here, but if you
Okay.
ask the right questions, then you can determine if your strategies like creative financing would work for whatever you're buying. And again, I'll stick in the real estate space. So I just need to understand what's the motivation of the seller, good or bad, right? It could be one extreme, like they're behind on payments, they can't afford the house anymore, right? They need debt relief. And on the other extreme, they have a debt-free property and they're looking for the maximizing of the revenue or the price. So, and that could come in the form of tax benefits and things of that sort. So we need to understand the motivation. Then once we understand the motivation, step two would then be to understand the finances. Is there a mortgage? If there is, what's the payment? What's the balance? Then understand what the interest rate is, taxes, insurance. If there isn't one, okay, well, what can this property support? So that way you can communicate that with the seller. And then from there, then once we understand those, now we can start working on structuring the deal. Because now what we're doing is we're providing a solution to that seller based upon more or less the parameters that we were given, like on their motivation and the finances. So you can absolutely get involved in deals with little to no money down because it's roughly 90% of our deals that we've done in our community's done are no money down deals. But the only way you get a no money down deal is if you can really understand what the motivation of the seller is so we can provide a solution to that motivation.
Yeah, creating relationships is just so important in all kinds of passive income. Yeah.
For sure. Any type of structure. And the truth is too, even if you have the resources like money, you can be scarce with it. Like you can save on the money and utilize deals that require no money down. So there's plenty of people that join our community that high income earners, but I want to protect them in these deals. So we're utilizing these strategies, and so that way they can keep their capital or go invest in a different place. Or, of course, and we won't dive into too much today, but you can also have the strategy of bringing in private money along with creative financing on the deal. And now you get into deals with none of your own money, even though it may require money to get into the deal. So this is, as you mentioned, this is all about relationships. It's all about the skill set of communication. And I started out with zero real estate experience. So this has just all been learned over 10 years now. So somebody that like, hey, I want to go buy my first deal. As long as you're able to have some patience and persistence, you can absolutely do these deals.
Yeah, since we're talking about real estate, I wonder if you could just make a quick comment on one of the things you all teach in your courses is called the 3 paydays per deal. Is that something you're able to comment on just quickly here?
Oh yeah, for sure. So yeah, we trademarked it. It's the way we exit our deals. So we not only buy creatively, and meaning buying on seller financing or buying subject to the existing loan or buying on a lease purchase agreement, but we also sell creatively as well. So because we buy this way and then we sell on rent to own. Now, really, rent to own is just a program to help somebody that's not bankable to become bankable. And it's roughly 80%, 60 to 80% of people nationally that want to become a homeowner cannot become a homeowner due to seasoning because they're self-employed, legitimate hiccup in their credit, sideline buyers, many different factors, but they have this huge pool of buyers. And when we sell on rent to own, it allows us now to buy a property and sell it at a premium. It also allows us to collect a non-refundable deposit day one from these buyers because they're going to be acted like and treated like a homeowner. So that's our payday one. So that's cash in hand today. Then our payday two is the cash flow, right? We're talking about passive income streams here. This is as passive as you can get in real estate because you're not managing the property. You're not managing management of the property either because we're passing along any responsibilities to the end buyer. So they're acting like it's treated like a homeowner. So we're simply collecting a check, then we're collecting the delta, and we're paying the original bills that we agreed to with the original seller. So that's your payday 2. And then your payday 3 is then eventually when this buyer goes and qualifies for a loan, they're then going to get a bank loan and then pay us out, which we then have equity in the deal. So this is how you can create 3 distinctive income streams on one piece of real estate, and is why like a lot of people choose to use these strategies, to leave their W-2 job, because you can get lump sums in addition to monthly passive income.
Yeah, I love it. Like buying and selling on terms and creating that spread. I mean, in my mind, that's like creating arbitrage. Is that kind of what you teach and to get to that payment in the middle there? You're just creating a spread from what you buy it for and what you're selling it for.
Yeah, 100%, right? So we're going to buy it for a certain price, a certain monthly payment, a certain time frame, right? This time frame is either going to be infinite, meaning we're just going to make payments on this mortgage until it's done, or it's going to be a balloon payment where we need to cash them out. And then, yes, then we're going to go now take a property, we're going to go sell it for a higher price, a higher monthly payment, and then a shorter time frame so that buyer can cash this out before our time frames do. So yeah, you're collecting the delta between each and every one of those 3 segments.
Very cool. In our group, we have a lot of vending, we call them vendingpreneurs, but vendors who, are either buying routes or selling routes. I wonder if your techniques would relate to what they're doing, and maybe if you could touch on that.
Yeah, so let's hit on the selling side, right? So if I'm somebody that owns a bunch of routes and I want to maximize the purchase price or continue to participate in revenue, then selling on seller financing or selling on an option of your route could make a big difference, right? Because you're able to collect maybe some money today. You're then able to collect some money over the course of that time frame while somebody either works on financing or they start driving up revenue where they can then go ahead and get more bank financing. Many different ways, but you're able to now structure some money today and then some money over time without managing your routes. So that's a really cool option, right? Obviously. And then if you're trying to acquire more routes or your first route, if you can structure the same type of thing with a seller to get them to be your bank and seller finance you, well, now that's a really big opportunity because now you can step into managing and operating the business and giving them the ability to step back and now be the financer of the business. And while you improve it and you pour your time and effort into it, it's going to, of course, increase the value. And then you, as that end buyer, eventually want to try to cash out that seller within a certain period of time. So there's really a cohesive relationship depending on wherever you are in the middle. And if it was me personally, I would be looking to buy and probably sell routes that way because I'm looking for long-term cash flow on these deals, but I'm also looking to get into deals, whether it be vending machines or businesses or real estate with the least amount of money down, right? And to be able to capture that cash flow as well. So that way everyone can benefit on these structures.
Yeah, that sounds great. I have one that I am selling right now on seller financing, but we have not dotted the I's and crossed the T's yet. So maybe you could help me walk through that at some point and we can make that a case study to go along with this video.
For sure. Yeah, happy to help.
Yeah. So one other thing I wanted to ask about, or one type of deal, we have a lot of people in our group who are real estate investors that maybe are retiring and have 20 or 30 properties. Yep. How about someone like that who wanted to maybe keep their passive income? In fact, it would be more passive than being a real estate investor, but create that passive income for retirement, maybe be selling 1 or 2 or 5 properties a year. Is that something that you guys do as well?
Yeah, 100%. I actually knew a gentleman. Now, he wasn't a really good friend, but we actually interviewed him on our podcast, and he had 650 rentals. And what he was doing is he was selling off rent to own every single one of those as the lease ended. Not necessarily because he wanted to, receive all this money up front, but because he was trying to lower his overhead of management. So because now you're passing along all of the responsibilities to the end buyer. So that's one way. And then we've had many students that come in and say, look, I'm tired of being a landlord now. I would love to start getting some money up front today and then creating some cash flow. So they actually sold off all of their rentals, one at a time. And then of course and again, I'm not a CPA, but there's going to be some tax benefits if you want to do some long-term seller financing too, because now this is very passive income and you can now start structuring certain exits per real estate deal based upon, your tax planning purposes. Like if there's certain timeframes that you're going to have losses, right? That's when you want to go and sell a property. So that way it offsets the losses. So lots of ways to get strategic when it comes to these creative deals, for sure.
Cool. Well, thanks for those examples. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about your programs? We're going to provide a link for everybody under the video when we post it. But why don't you just maybe give us the cliff notes of your programs that you offer?
Yeah, for sure. So we have a way to kind of start the process no matter where you are in your real estate journey, whether you have zero real estate experience, or if you're, been a real estate investor and are looking to capture more of the market based upon today's, current market, which is the reason why many, many people are becoming, get involved in creative financing, because the market is so set up for these types of strategies right now. So if you're just listening for the first time, I want to make sure first and foremost, you could dig into creative financing to see if this is a niche for you. We can give you access to our first Amazon best-selling book. You can read through it or jump onto like our 50-minute or 60-minute master's class, which Chuck will provide those links for you as well. So that way, at least you can say, all right, let me understand this business model a bit more versus, 10 minutes of osmosis, right? The second piece would then be, okay, I'm deciding, yeah, this is definitely a niche for us. Well, we have a couple different ways you can get involved. One is you can join like our 12-week group coaching program, which is set up really for you to dip your toes in the water and kind of get peek behind the green curtain per se. And you get access to a whole bunch of not only our courses, but you get access to our coaches as well. And each and every one of our coaches has been brought from the ground up. Then what most people decide and choose to do is if they really want to build this business long-term, well, then we have what we call our associate programs, where we literally lock arms with you in the trenches and help you do real estate deals and help put deals into your portfolio, which could consist of everything from us helping you set up your business to making phone calls to your sellers, to then structuring the deals and working through negotiations, to making sure you got the right paperwork in place, to then even selling the properties. So, because that way we can really, really get hands on with you and get in the trenches, as we like to say. And then we have everything in between. So everything from virtual to in-person as well, including events. So lots of ways to work with us for sure, depending on where you are in your journey.
Very cool. So from beginner to almost a done for you program.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've been through every type of course you could imagine, invest tens of thousands of dollars a year in coaching. I'm a big proponent of it. And at the end of the day, if somebody's really trying to transition from, say, W-2 to a real estate investor, there's a lot of nuances that come into play. And if we can really get in the trenches with you and work with you on a daily basis, the likelihood of your success drastically increases.
Cool. You mentioned your book. What's the name of that book?
Yeah, so Real Estate on Your Terms. We actually re-advised it after COVID as well. So that way we have the most up-to-date information consistently on that as well. So again, Real Estate on Your Terms, written by my father-in-law, Chris Prefontaine, co-authored by both myself and my brother-in-law, Nick Prefontaine.
Very cool. You mentioned you have a podcast, and I think I also read about a YouTube channel. Do you want to just plug those real quick?
Yeah, for sure. The Smart Real Estate Coach podcast, or if you go to smartrealestatecoach.com/podcast, we have, I think it's over 400 episodes now, where we interview guests, everyone from like an Ed Milet to your real estate investor, to our community members as well. And then our YouTube channel, we've been running this now for, I think it's like 5 or 6 years. What most people go to our channel for is we have what we call a Deal Structure Sunday. So we have over 400 deal structure Sundays. So every single Sunday we release a video where we outline and structure either a deal that we did or a deal that one of our community members did. So that way you could see everything from where we found the deal to why we structured it this way to what's the estimated paydays, or even if it cashed out, what was, the projected, but now the realized paydays, so that we can see how all these deals come together.
Awesome. Well, Zach, you've provided a lot of value for me, that's for sure today. And I've been dipping into your community and checking out the educational programs, and I can tell you that I've already learned so much. Is there anything else that you want to provide or let our group know before we wrap up for today?
No, I would just say, I believe creative financing, as we mentioned today, is really like, I think it's the fundamental strategies that, and then call me biased, but that you need to know in order to buy real estate or to buy businesses, vending routes. Because if you have the ability to create a win-win for you and the seller and you and the buyer, and you don't have to go to a bank, then I would always go with that structure first. And if for whatever reason you can't structure it that way, then go ahead and go get some traditional financing. But I can almost guarantee you that it will drastically increase the amount of successful transactions that you can do, because you now have solutions that most people don't.
I love it. And I love the whole idea of becoming your own bank. So very cool. Thanks for your time today, Zach. And we'll get all this information out to our group, and hopefully they'll be reaching out to you.
Yeah, appreciate you, Chuck.